Spearmint Gum presents Island Venture. The makers of Wrigley's Spearmint Gum invite you to listen to another story in the island venture of Gil Perry, modern pioneer, ex-Navy hero, who has gone back to the islands of the Central Pacific to start an air service. Gil and his friend, Trigger Brett, are typical of the men of the Navy who fought through to victory and now are bringing their courage, their dauntless spirit, and their sound Navy training with them into peacetime enterprises. So now, in tribute to our Navy and for your entertainment, Wrigley's Spearmint Gum presents Island Venture.
Friends, we realize that there are many things in life that are more important to you than chewing gum. But sometimes even a little thing can be useful and helpful in our daily lives. And as we all know, chewing gum does serve such a purpose. Now on your job, for instance, no matter what your daily work happens to be, it's perfectly natural at times to want to get your teeth into something. Chewing on a good piece of gum helps keep you feeling satisfied. And feeling better, of course, you work better. Your job seems easier and pleasanter. And folks, when we talk about chewing gum, we mean any gum, not just ours. There are a number of good chewing gums in the market now. And we want to add Wrigley's Spearmint to that number just as soon as possible. We haven't brought this good old favorite back yet because we felt that those of you who want Wrigley's Spearmint want enough of it to go around more fairly and equally than is possible at the present time. So, that's what we're waiting for.
I'm going down to meet the Clipper, Trigger. I want to see if we got any mail. I'll be back in a few minutes, okay?
Yeah.
The machinery that Dawn Bus wants us to bring over to Telezozo tomorrow morning's pretty valuable, so maybe you better get it aboard the plane. And it might be a good idea if you moored the plane in the lagoon.
The tropical island of Vilopan. Gray-white clouds tumbling overhead. A soft, gentle breeze that brings with it the clean smell of the sea. And the sun pouring gold under the white coral beaches and flecking the green of the palm leaves with light spots. A long, low, tin-roofed hangar. A young man with a black frown on his face, tinkering with the landing gear of a silver-winged plane.
The Senor Gil is going to meet the Clipper, huh, Trigger?
Yeah.
To get the mail, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, what's the matter with you, Trigger? You sick?
No.
You have a headache? The cat fever?
No, I ain't got a headache and I ain't got cat fever.
You have a big grouch, I think. You have a fight with my Polly?
Look, Pop, beat it, will you, Scram? Get out of here. Leave me be.
What have you said to my Polly? What you have said to make her get the mad with you?
I didn't say nothing to her. I haven't even seen her. All I do is work. That's all I do, just work. Get the plane ready so we can leave tomorrow for Telezozo, he says. Get it moored in the lagoon, he says. Get the cargo aboard, he says.
And, this he, what does all this saying? That's the Senor Gil, perhaps, huh? Oh, my heart, she bleeds for you, Trigger. That Senor Gil is one big slave driver. One very big one. Why, this morning at 5 or 6 o'clock when I opened my eyes...
And then turned right over again so the sun wouldn't shine on him.
Sure, I turn over. Am I, Roland Luis Fernando Tomas Mendoza, a little rooster what makes the crows at the sun? Oh, no. But what do I see before I make the turns, huh? I see the Senor Gil out here and his work on this plane. And what do I see last night before I make the turns in bed? So the moon, she don't shine in my eyes, huh? I see the Senor Gil work here in the office.
Okay, he works, but so do I. Nobody ever thinks I get tired.
Maybe it's not the tired you get, my Trigger. Maybe... Hey, you know something? This is a very strange thing. Men, they find gold in many places. They find also the silver in many places. But the lead, it's always in the same place.
You think you're funny, don't you? Well, listen...
I think anyway I have a horse on you.
Pa, Trigger, I want you to meet a guy who just got off the Clipper. This is Joe Standish. Joe, Trigger Brett, Pop Mendoza.
Welcome to Vilopan, senor.
Standish. Your name's Standish? Any relation to Miles?
Is he from Jersey?
From Massachusetts.
Then he ain't no relation. We always lived in Jersey. But I know a guy in Montclair named Miles. Jake Miles.
Maybe they're brothers.
I don't think... Say, what is this, a rib?
The trigger, he just make the fun, senor. He thinks sometimes he's a very funny man.
Yeah, well,
Joe here used to be in the Navy, too, Trigger.
Yeah? Where?
I was in a boat.
Hey, look, fella.
Lay off, Trigger.
In the Navy, anything you can't row is a ship.
How about a pig boat, mister? A sub. I was in one of them boats for 3 years.
I think that's a horse on you, huh, Trigger? The second horses.
Joe here heard about us, about Inter-Island Air Service over on Punsabi. He's a mechanic, Trigger, and he came over here to see if we couldn't put him to work. I told him we'd give him a chance.
Oh, that's good, huh, Trigger? Now you'll not have to work so hard. Practically to the bones, my little Trigger's worked his fingers. It's a very sad case.
Oh, shut up, Pop.
I'm very glad for you, Senor Standish. I'm very happy you have so quick a good job. Perhaps now you wish for a room in my Empire Hotel, huh? I give you one for a very cheap price. I will do more. I will give you the room with running water.
Maybe Joe don't like Indians, Pop.
Oh, Indians is okay by me. Oh. Another rib, huh?
Come on with me, Joe. I'll show you around.
1 second. Look, Mr. Trigger. It's okay about the ribbon, understand? It's okay. But just see you stay gentle, that's all. Just stay gentle.
Hi. Where you been all evening?
Around.
With Polly?
Yeah, she's going to plant a vegetable garden. I was sort of helping her plant it.
Sort of's how I bet on it, too. What do you know about agriculture?
Plenty. If you cut a pea in two and it's red inside, it's a watermelon.
That's about what I thought you knew. Anyway, I'm glad to see you're over the Wimmies, or whatever it was that was eating you this afternoon. Oh, I asked Joe to stay aboard the amphibian tonight. I thought with all that stuff on it for Telezozo, and with it moored out there in the lagoon, that somebody ought to keep an eye on things.
You trust that guy, don't you?
Sure, I trust him. How come you don't like him, Trigger?
How come I don't like double pneumonia?
He's a good guy, if you just give yourself a chance to know him.
I'll have plenty of chances. But what's good about him? Just 'cause he's in the Navy? And how do you know he was in the Navy?
I saw his papers.
Ah, what's papers mean? Anybody can have papers. I lost mine half a dozen times.
What are you getting at?
Nothing. But a strange guy comes here in the Clipper. He hits you for a job. You like his big brown eyes?
He's a good mechanic. I watched him work.
Okay, he's good. But what if he does a little off-the-record tinkering on one of the engines? What if one of them conks on us halfway between here and some other island?
Well, you're a long-distance swimmer, aren't you? Why stew about a little thing like that? No, I'm sure that Joe's okay, Trigger, so quit worrying about it, will you?
No. Yeah. Oh, boy. Me too.
Maybe we ought to look over Dornboss's account. Hey, who said that?
Nobody. Let's hit the sack.
Night, hot and full of the scent of the tropics. A silvery sweep of sky with its clouded froth of stars. The Big Dipper on one hand, the Milky Way on the other. A moon 1/4 gone that turns the sea to hammered silver. And silence, deep and utter and complete. Then suddenly...
Hey, Gil. Gil!
What? What's wrong? What happened?
That's a plane motor, ours, out in the lagoon. What did I tell you about that guy?
Let's get out there. Hey, he's taken off.
I told you that guy was a no-good so-and-so.
He won't get away with it.
No? Well, how you going to stop him?
Follow him in our other plane.
In this dark, you're nuts. You can't see 100 feet ahead.
Our plane's faster than that job. We can follow him by the exhaust flames if we can get close enough. Come on. You see him, Trigger?
I think so. Off to the right. Ah, no, it's a star. I told you we couldn't follow him.
Quit beefing and keep looking.
What's the use? It's wacky. We haven't got a chance at... Wait a minute.
You see something?
No, but I thought of something.
What?
I didn't put any gas in that job. I was going to do it in the morning.
How much was in the tanks?
Oh, not more than a half hour flying.
Yeah, he'd notice the gauges and know that he was low. Hey, what's the nearest island? Walgie, isn't it?
Yeah, but he can't get any gas there. There's nothing on that island. Not even natives.
He could set her down in the cove off Walgie. There's a nice little sheltered one there.
Well, what did that get him?
He could get some gas in the morning.
How? Make it out of seaweed?
I don't think that Joe's alone in this, Trigger. He'll use the radio and get help.
You mean he's messed up with that same gang we've been running into out here?
What else? They could use that plane, and they could sure use that shipment aboard it. Now, to me, this whole thing smells like a cooked-up job.
Ah, what I've been telling you about that guy. What did I tell you?
Okay, you told me I was wrong and you were right. You satisfied? Now, if you are, let's run over to Walgie and see if we can spot our plane.
You can't land there. Ain't a level stretch on that dump big enough. Except maybe the beach. And you couldn't make that in the dark.
Brother, are you full of encouragement tonight? I just said go over there and have a look. Any objections to that?
Hey, Gil, there's Walgie dead ahead.
I'm going in low. Try and spot our plane.
The big plane swoops low over the island, thunder of its exhausts and props echoing and re-echoing across the tiny strip of sand and jungle. Below it, on the shawms of a palm-bordered cove, 4 men stand. They raise their heads to look and to listen. One of them speaks.
Put that cigarette out, you fool. You want him to see us?
I got it cupped in my hand.
I said put it out.
All right.
Standish. That's what you call yourself?
That's what I call myself. It's my name.
You said you didn't leave a note for those men.
I didn't leave nothing.
How could he, Grier? You talk like a fool. Ourselves, we did not know where we were going until we saw how little petrol we had.
What would I want to tell him for anyway? You think I want to play around with Perry and his little 2-bit outfit? I came out here to make dough. Lots of dough. How many times do I have to tell you Muggs that?
That name, Muggs, was it? I do not like it, Standish.
It don't mean nothing, Ritter. Back home we call everybody Muggs.
You're not back home, Standish. So do not use that word again when you're speaking to me. As for how many times you must try and convince us as to your worthiness, that is for me to decide.
I let you have the plane, didn't I?
There was 3 of us. You couldn't help yourself.
I could have put up a fight. I could have yelled.
If you had Standish, you now would be a dead man. A very cold dead man. Perhaps the shark's eating at you.
Yeah, they're still up there, circling this place. Suppose they stay up there till it gets light, Ritter. They'll spot their plane then.
They won't stay. They can't know we're here. They're only guessing.
Gilbert Perry's guesses are too often backed by judgment. He's a dangerous man to us. Very dangerous. Till he is out of the way. Totally out of the way. Our plans for the future cannot move as rapidly as we would wish.
You want him took for a ride, eh?
Language of your country, Standish. Particularly as spoken by you, sometimes I do not understand. But if you mean have Perry eliminated, yes, I would like nothing better.
It's a cinch. You walk away. How soon do you want it done?
I think you are just talking big, Standish. But if you are not...
I don't talk big, mister. How soon? Tomorrow?
I still think you are making big talk. But I will listen to your idea.
Here it is, then. Hot off the stove.
We're just wasting time, Gil. Maybe he didn't get this far. Maybe he ran out of gas and had to land someplace in a drink.
I'm afraid you're right, Trigger. And it'd be just luck if we spotted the plane on the water. We're licked, for tonight anyway. We'll have a try again in the morning, as soon as it gets light.
Yeah, if we don't get that plane back and that stuff aboard it, we're practically out of business, huh?
Not practically out, Trigger. We're all the way out. We're busted.
Maybe not, Guy. We might be able to... Hey, Gil.
Huh?
Coming up off that island. A rocket. Yeah, and there's another one. They're the same type we had aboard our plane, ain't they?
Yeah.
Well, how do you like that for a prize stinker? The guy steals our plane, he runs out of gas, and when he hears us flies over, he sends up distress rockets.
It could be that he was lugged over here against his will. And it could be he's sending up those rockets to let us know where the plane is. Do you ever think of that?
I'm thinking of it, but it don't add up.
I think it does.
Yeah? Then what happens to Joe when those birds who jumped him, if any birds did jump him, see those rockets?
He's in trouble, unless he can hide from them. And I think he could hide from them until morning. It wouldn't be so tough in the dark.
You got me almost convinced. But just almost.
Well, convinced or not, I'm going back and find out. I want that plane and I want that cargo. I gotta have them.
I'm with you, fella, but you can't land this wagon there. Not at night you can't.
I wasn't going to try. We're going back to Elopan. We're getting Pop in our boat, and we're coming back. If we step on it, we ought to make it back here before sunrise.
I think perhaps the Senor Gill has got the pitch on this thing, Trigger. I think that Joe is a okay guy.
Me, I still say maybe.
You don't like him because he got the horses on you, huh?
I don't like him, period.
You know, it's not good to make snap judgments, Trigger. Once, my own self, I make a snap judgment about a man. I think I don't like him, and...
It couldn't have been yourself.
Hey, pipe down, you two. There's Walgie right ahead. Shut off the engine, Trigger.
You still think there's a gang here, don't you? You still think that Joe was grabbed?
I'll bet on it.
Well, if you're right, they've heard us by now. You can hear this egg beater for a mile.
That's a chance we take. But maybe we'll get in without anybody hearing us. The wind's off the island.
What do we do when we get ashore? Tow our plane out if we find it?
That's one thing.
Look, don't tell me we're going to play Boy Scout and rescue poor old Joe.
What did you do, leave him here?
Would I? In a second.
No, he's just a big, bad, tough cookie, my Trigger. A very, very hard man.
Yeah, he scares himself sometimes. Give me a hand with these oars, you guys.
Yeah.
We row in from here.
Row? Row this barge?
It won't be so bad. Come on, let's get the oars out.
All right, guys.
Grab that one.
I got it. Here, take one here. There. All right.
We won't go straight in. We'll pull along abreast of the beach. I want to see if we can spot our plane before we go ashore. Okay? Give way. Starboard a little. Pull in a little closer to shore. Try not to make any more noise than you have to.
Mind I take a horseshoe for 11. Mind I...
Hold it. Look in there at the far end. Into that cove. Isn't that our crate?
It looks like it. The shadow is anywhere deeper.
Yeah, that's it, all right, Gil. It's pulled up almost on a beach.
Which proves from my dough that Joe isn't alone here. He couldn't have pulled that plane up by himself. All right, let's head toward it.
What are you stalling for, Pop? Huh? You afraid Gil will say stop rowing and you won't hear him? Pull on that oar.
I show you how I pull pretty quick when I grab your nose.
Pipe down. Okay, way enough. Let her drift.
Well, no reception committee. Little Joe and his pals, if any, must be taking a snooze.
Get ashore. We'll push the plane off. And then...
There will be no then, Terry.
Oh, well...
Easy. There are 4 of us here, and we all have guns. Come ashore. One at a time, with your heads up.
Shall we have a go at jumping him, Gil? In this bum light, he might miss.
No, Trigger.
Good advice, Perry. Come ashore, quickly. Stand right where you are now. You're close enough.
There's the other 3, Trigger. By that bush.
Yeah, little Joe, your pal. Well, if it ain't Miles Standish. Fancy meeting you here.
Go ahead, Brett. Have your fun. It'll be my turn in a minute.
Turn, the gentleman says. Now we get ourselves mixed up with Harvard guys.
I'd take it easy if I was you, Brett.
Yeah, Trigger, don't go sticking your neck out. Are you mixed up with these men, Joe?
What's it look like, Perry? Did you think I'd go for that little job you offered me? I've always played the big time, Perry.
You mean once you played the big time, Joe, when you were in the Navy. If you were.
Perry, you better keep this boy's mouth shut.
Keep still, Trigger.
I like to hear the boy talk, Gil. He fascinates me.
I'm keeping count of every time you open your big mouth, Brett.
Then it'll all be for free when I get over 10, won't it? Or can you count that high?
That's enough out of you.
Hey, Trigger, don't be a big fool. But for that slap, Senor Joe, I myself, Roland Luis Fernando Tomas Mendoza, will fix your wagon.
It will not be today, Fat One. Or any day. We've had enough of talk. Tie them up. We have business to do.
This is going to be a pleasure, Ritter. You first, Brett. Down on the ground with you.
Yeah, wait. Not yet, fella. Me, I think you'll be the one on the ground.
No. Yeah. Give Standish a hand. Move.
There you are, pal. Flat on your back.
Took 3 of you. Remember that, Joe boy. And I'll remind you of it again someday.
That won't be soon, guy. Not soon. How do you like these knots, sailor? They look like Navy to you?
Yeah, took 3 of you.
Now you, Perry. Crier, you tie up the fat boy. He ought to be easy. Just make some barrel swings. Don't try bulging your muscles, Perry. I know that trick.
I can't quite figure you, Joe.
Why try? You ain't very smart, Perry. Not near as smart as I thought you were.
No. I did not think myself that the fast-thinking Gilbert Perry would be taken in by that little scheme of yours, Standish.
Sending up them rockets, Perry. These kind of guys kind of don't like you. They want you out of the way, permanent. So I tells them I'll bring you to where they can get at you. I had you pegged as a sucker. And you was.
And I, Perry, wish to thank you for being such a such a sucker. Your elimination, which will come later, yours and your friends, will be quite a feather in my cap. I must ask you to excuse me for a short time. I have a little unfinished business to attend to. But I shall return shortly and resume the ceremonies. No, Graham.
Yeah?
Stay here and watch these men. Standish, come with me.
Dawn is poised on the edge of night now. Black shadows fade to a jaundiced grayness. It is the hour when ghosts go home. A land crab waddles awkwardly across the clearing, halts for a moment, as if to look resentfully at the three bound figures on the sand, then scurries on again. Gil Perry moves cautiously and whispers to Trigger Brett.
Trigger, are your ropes tight? Tie her up, pull my window, Gil. I can't budge. Yours, Pop?
Tight like a bullfighter's pants, senor. Yours, too?
Mine seem kind of loose. Joe must have been a little tired when he got to me. Can you get loose? I don't know yet. I'm trying. How about it, Gil? I'm getting him, I think. Yeah. I've got my hands free. Nice going. Now, get my legs. Untie 'em. There. I got him, Trigger. I'm loose. You're gonna hop those two thugs? That's what I had in mind. Roll over here and get me loose. You can't take those two on alone.
Come in and loose me too, senor. With the three of us...
There isn't time. Ritter and Joe may be back any minute now. You're nuts, guy. You can't do it by yourself.
They have the guns, senor.
Yeah, but one gun's leaning against that tree. If I can get to that... You couldn't make it. Those birds are too close to it. They'll spot you before you move 5 feet. Maybe not. This light's still pretty tricky. Anyway, it's a chance.
It's a chance for you get yourself killed, senor. But if my hands and feet are unloosed...
No, Pop. There isn't time for it. Just wish me luck. Gil, don't be a fool. Don't try. I'm on my way. Keep your fingers crossed.
Slowly, cautiously, Gil Perry moves ahead. Flat against the hard ground, he inches toward the guards and that gun leaning against the tree. A foot. Then stop. 2 feet. Stop again. Pop Mendoza and Trigger watch him. Their eyes straining in the gray darkness, their breath pouring from their nostrils and sounding in the tense silence like the rustle of curtains.
He's not going to make it, Pop. He's got too far to go.
Keep quiet, Trigger. I say a little prayer.
Gil is nearer now. 10 feet from that tree. 10 feet from that gun. One of the guard yawns, stretches and turns his head. Chill speeds along Gil's spine. His mouth goes suddenly dry. And down on the beach, Trigger Brett strains at his bound hands.
Pop, they're going to spot him. Or if I can only get loose.
I still say a prayer, Trigger. Maybe.
Somewhere in the jungle, a bird screeches. The eyes of the guards turn lazily toward the sound.
What I tell you, Trigger? I say a prayer, and the bird, she makes a noise. Look!
Gil is on his feet. 3 quick strides, and the gun is in his hands.
Don't move, you birds. I said don't move. Drop that gun, Briar. Drop it, quick.
Hello, boy, Gil. Kid. Don't take any chances with those lugs. Slug them.
Hit them for me, senor.
Hey, Gil, behind you. Reverend Joe, Gil.
Stand still, Perry. Stand very still. Get his gun, Joe.
With pleasure. Let's have it, Perry. You're not very smart, are you?
We have had enough of this fooling around. It's time now to do away with all of you.
You wouldn't shoot guys tied up on the ground.
And why not? They are much easier to kill that way. But if you feel squeamish about it, Perry, I will shoot you first. I will not have you tied up again, however, if that will make you feel better. You may stand exactly where you are.
You're pretty low, aren't you, Joe? Just about as low as...
Shut up, Perry.
Let him talk. What's the difference what the bird says? You're the guy I don't want to hear no more of you. Drop that gun, Ritter. Fast.
You fool!
Drop it! Now, back over there with your 2 little boys. Move, Ritter. Easy, Grier. Don't try nothing fancy.
I don't get this.
What's to get about it? It's simple. Here, hold the gun. Hold the gun on these eggs while I untie them 2 pigeons.
Why, I still don't get it. You mean that...
I don't mean nothing. I'm sorry I had to let it go so far. I'm awful sorry about you, too, Brett. I had to slap you to make it seem real.
You slapped who?
I thought you might wise up, Perry, when I tied them knots on you loose. I figured you would.
No, I didn't.
The only way I knew how to get you birds over here so you could get your plane back was to sell these apples and let me send up them rockets.
Hey, wait a minute. You mean this whole thing was an act?
I had to do something, Brett. These mugs jumped me in the plane back on Elo Pan. I had to make believe I was playing along with them.
Well, shit, guy. You sure had me fooled. And I mean fooled.
Me, Roland Luis Fernando Tomas Mendoza, For 1 little minute I was not fooled.
Ah, don't give me that stuff, Pop. You didn't know any better than the rest of us what it was all about.
Like always, Trigger, you just don't understand English. I have just said that for 1 little minute I'm not fooled. But for 3 or 4 hours, I'm as dumb as you are.
Folks, we hope you enjoyed tonight's story of Island Venture. And even though Wrigley's Spearmint Gum is not yet back in the market, we want to remind you of the usefulness of chewing gum in general. When you're meeting other people, for example, you naturally want to make a good impression. And if you've chewed a stick of gum beforehand, well, your breath is likely to be sweeter, your teeth cleaner, and you feel that much more sure of yourself. And then, too, offering the other person a stick of gum is a friendly little gesture. Now, we know that there's still a scarcity of good gum, but you can get some at times, and we suggest you do. And to those of you who prefer Wrigley's Spearmint Gum, we'd like you to know that we want to add our production to the total amount of good gum available just as soon as possible.
Trigger's singing voice leads him and Pop Mendoza to the brink of matrimony. Gil is forced to rescue the unwilling bridegrooms. Listen to this amusing story next week, this time, this station, when Wrigley's Spearmint Gum presents Island Venture.
Friends, the job of the trained merchant seaman is not nearly done, and it offers stable employment with great opportunities for a career in years to come. If you know an officer or man with sea experience, urge him, for the sake of his future and the nation's, to write or wire collect Merchant Marine, Washington 25, D.C., giving his name and address, his rating, license, or other qualifications. If you are a trained man, remember that here is a vital job, a good-paying job, which you and you alone can do because you have the experience. Why don't you send that wire right now? Tell the world, I'm going back to my ship, and bring America's fighting men home. This program has come to you from our Chicago studios in the Wrigley Building. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.